Hello, my name's Matt. I'm documenting my experiences working in the NDIS and related industries and very serious structural problems in healthcare in Australia. Um, the biggest theme of my videos has been corruption in the private health industry, primarily around NDIS and how the incentives at play create the exploitation of vulnerable people, of which I am one. So, I'm going to talk about oppression today. Oppression is where there are structural forces or very direct, or persecution, where there is someone or a group of people who are acting in a way to limit the opportunities of someone else. Now, I am pushed into poverty, like I'm not able to, which means limited access to opportunities due to finances, because of oppression. And I'm going to start naming my oppressors. I'm going to say what they've done. So, when I lost my job at Henny's Health Group after I complained about that we were basically committing widespread white collar crime, what we were doing is that we were finding ways to game the NDIS price guide to remove the funding from participants while providing the least amount of service possible. This allowed us to get all the money from their NDIS plans immediately without having to go through the tedious processes of actually providing therapy. At this time, I was registered as a provisional psychologist. I'm qualified and certified to call myself a provisional psychologist when my registration is renewed, when it is active. But there's some quirks to this, and I'm going to get to that because after I finished working at Henny's Health Group, I had fugue states. I'd find myself in rooms of my house without knowing how I got there, right? I was certainly drinking a bit too much, and just the combined stress of being exploited by this for-profit system for a long period of time as I'm trying to eventually get my full certification as a psych, put me in a place where I couldn't function anymore. And what happened is that I emailed APRA when about my renewal of registration, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you can do it. You don't need to have an employer to do that. There's no reason why you can't renew it." But I misinterpreted the content of that email because they said I could renew it without an employer, but I thought they said I could renew it at any time. And seeing as the registration lapsed, it's actually a lot of work for me to re-renew it. Again, I'm qualified, I'm skilled, I'm capable, I'm more useful than most psychologists, and I'm certainly a very valuable and useful healthcare professional. But seeing as this registration lapsed, I was no longer able to use the title of provisional psychologist. There's some quirks to that. The legality of this issue is actually controversial, but I cannot access a lawyer because I cannot pay for it. And that's going to bring us to my next point. I had a colleague in a previous job who did not like me very much at all. He was a upper middle class, elderly chap with a nursing background, and compared to me, who's lower class, lower middle class, psych background, and with a far left orientation. He was a neoliberal. He had a hard on for Margaret Thatcher. So he hears me talking about these things about, like this corporate system isn't so great. We need to be careful. We need to take care of the indigenous people. We need to do all these things. And because he just doesn't think very much of me, and I think that was just because I didn't make a good impression on him. If I had to work with him again, like that's something which can be negotiated. But he took a dislike to me. So with as the normal process of elderly chaps who've got too much time on their hands, he started writing very long emails to the Australian Health Practitioner Registration Agency, which is the agency responsible for ensuring that practitioners are appropriately certified and not misbehaving. And the arm of the organisation which does the renewals and the arm of the and the certification in the arm of the organization which does the prosecutions and investigations are completely separate. And my experience is that they don't speak enough to each other. Because I get letters, I get charged, they end up dropping the charges. I'm not able to access a lawyer because I don't have money, and you can't, and I'm not able to access a lawyer in time for the charges to be dropped. But I end up building a decent working relationship with my investigator, because he knows that I'm able to convince him that I'm oriented in the correct direction, and that this is, like, I'm on the side of what the mission of AHPRA is. We need to keep these, we need to ensure that the public is protected from dodgy practitioners. The issue is, it's much easier to prosecute a single individual who's broke and can't afford a lawyer than it is to prosecute a large company, right? And this is why in situations in the past, such as the David bloke, the lawyer who broke the news about all the crimes the SAS were doing in Iraq and Afghanistan, all the murders. He's currently in prison not too far from me, in the prison around Canberra, because he was an easy person to prosecute. So he got in trouble for, speaking out about classified information. And he's the first person to be prosecuted regarding all the crimes in Afghanistan. It's the guy who spoke out about it. Similarly, I was the first person where a prosecution started and they realized, oh, this I've got a conscience. This isn't a good idea. Like, we've got some sense. Like, I certainly have very valid criticisms about AHPRA, but I will say that my experience so far has been that they do have some sense. Returning to my point, I'm the first person to have had legal action taken against me regarding all the crimes I've witnessed. Okay? And when I go to job interviews, I get calls from AHPRA afterwards talking about what I said during my job interviews. So the more job interviews I go to, the more likely it is that I get prosecuted for something. Like, I might say something which is, just slightly slightly in that grey area where I'm saying, I am a psychologist who's registered. And it might just be from a leading question or something, and then all of a sudden I'm being charged by AHPRA, right? I can't afford a lawyer. I can't talk to a lawyer to see if I can get them off my back. I'm stuck in this predicament. So, and the worst thing is that it's not just AHPRA. Because I've spoken out against a lot of companies doing a lot of dodgy things, and these companies are associated with vocational rehabilitation, the interconnection of HR departments across our industry, and all these things, sometimes I go to job interviews where they're trying to get me to play up or do something dodgy, right? One time I went to a job interview, and this is the worst thing about vocational rehabilitation, is the interconnectedness of it. I went to a job, and I had a job. I was waiting on my registration to be approved to renew, because I need both a place of practice to renew it, and I need AHPRA to finish that certification. So I need to go to these job interviews to be able to get my certification back, which is completely legal and completely part of the system, right? So I go to these job interviews. I already have a job, but I need a second job which I can do right away, and I'm already registered as a behaviour therapist, positive behaviour support practitioner with AHPRA, so I can, not AHPRA, the NDIS, so I can do that already. So I'll go for an interview with that, and then because of the interconnectedness of the industry, like, the person that I already have a job with will be told about it, and then I lose that job because they think I'm looking for jobs at other places where I'm just trying to get money to pay for the certification process, right? So the more places I go to interviews, the more danger I'm in. Every job interview I get means that another job I might get lined up just so I can get some cash in the meantime, means even if it's like I want to work 2 part-time jobs or whatever, reduces that chance. And at the same time, like, the people I worked for who committed major white-collar fraud across Canberra, right, have the gall after they fired me to call everyone up and say not to work with me, even though I had a clause in my contract put in so they wouldn't do that, right? So let me put it like this, right? People look at me, it's like, hey Matt, it's a year since you burned out, why aren't you working again? It's because I am oppressed into poverty, right? My industry, NDIS, right? Like it's I have been oppressed. It has been a team effort, right? To keep me in poverty. I can't get out of poverty. I can't get up because all my skills and certifications are in this thing, and I don't have the money to buy another certification of any kind, right? My car, like, which I was able to get, is not registered and it needs significant work to start. So if there's a job which requires me to use a car to get it, I can't do it, right? And I'm overqualified for most jobs, right? So even just beginning and getting up is incredibly difficult, and there are people who are actively trying to keep me down, right? That is why I say I am oppressed, and that is why I live in poverty. It's not my choice. If I could work, I'd fucking be doing it. But it is a collective effort, and I'm very angry, right? I'm very angry, and it's fucking disgusting. It's been oppression by my peers who have committed crimes. It's oppression by shit eaters in the industry who have been able to, get by being okay doing terrible work and are happy to create problems for me. And it's oppression, I'm not sure if I said it, oppression by my government, okay? Like the way that APRA has behaved in my case, actively hunting me and persecuting the weak target, has not been appropriate. I can't defend myself, right? I have done nothing wrong. I am a qualified, skilled practitioner, right, who has been forced into working with some terrible people, right? I don't get much choice where I work because of the market, and that's my situation. So if anyone judges me, fuck you. You don't know my situation. Well, now you do, and it's complex, and it is structural oppression, and it's persecution, and it's not something which should have ever happened, but it has, and it's a result of it's taught me that really power is very real. People with power are at the top, not because they're deserved or they're skilled, but because they're able to crush and dominate, and they're happy to do so. And I suppose they might have skill in using that crushing violence and that power, and I've been subject to it.